Hello, and welcome to the Spiritualist Circle of Light. This is our dream class, and we will be discussing nightmares. Hmm. So, what might a nightmare be? Well, good question. Consider this. You find yourself in a meat locker, cold, you can see your breath. And as you move about, you're moving between the meat hanging off of hooks. The light is blue and the air is thick and heavy. And you notice that the meat that is hanging off the hooks is not pork. It's not deer. It's not even beef, but human bodies. Would this be a nightmare? Well, some of you may consider this a nightmare, particularly if you are horror fans. But what makes a nightmare is they disturb. So that would mean that nightmares are not about the bizarre imagery such as the meat locker that I described. And by the way, that was an actual dream. I didn't just make that up. That was an actual dream. But real nightmares, like I said, they are disturbing. Consider this. You are, imagine that you are in someone's living room. The house is kind of posh, thick carpeting, huge windows along one wall, a large screen television. The furniture is a bit ornate, contemporary but ornate, expensive. And a woman comes into the house and she begins to scream at you, to yell at you. And you're doing your best to stay composed. And then as the woman begins to settle down and you can understand some of the words, she is telling you, well, no, I'm sorry. I got the dream all wrong because this is the wrong part. Because as the woman is screaming at you and yelling, arms flailing and everything, you can't get a word in edgewise. You can't even speak. If you did, would she hear you? Probably not. So you calmly collect your car keys and you step out the front door. And you are standing in the walkway, gardens on one side and well-kept grass on the other, a stone pathway there, and you're looking for your vehicle. And as you're looking, the woman comes to the door. She's no longer yelling and screaming. And she says to you, my daughter just adores you. She really, really likes you. And you reply, yes, I know. It makes me uncomfortable. And then it dawns on you just what the yelling and screaming was all about. Because she was accusing you of doing something unethical. And as the realization comes to your awareness, you suddenly awaken from the dream. And, well, I'm not going to share with you the rest of it, at least not yet. But your thoughts about the dream, I would find it disturbing. For me, this is a nightmare because it is impinging, it is challenging my ethics. And in the past, I had been falsely accused of a number of things. Because when I awoke with this one, I was furious, horrified, outraged even. And it took me a few days to realize what the message was in the dream. Which was, was not the actions itself that were disturbing, but the motivation behind the actions that were disturbing. So this is what nightmares are about. They are about disturbing events, not the macabre background or anything, but events that are actually frightening for you. And for some, this can be a variety of things that to others would seem innocent. Mm, For instance, and this is a good one here, this is a good one. You are accused of cheating on your spouse. Well, what do you think of that? Some people would find that extremely disturbing, outrageous, inflammatory, unethical. This would be considered a nightmare. Nightmares disturb. And these disturbing experiences, some say they are reflections of emotions experienced through threats to one's security or integrity, my how people see me, my integrity, my honesty, my truthfulness, my security. Well, think about this. What could be How could you be insecure being a babysitter? Hmm. That's not at issue here. The insecurity lies in your self-worth, in your self-image, how you see yourself. If you are insecure with that, then you may be overreactive to a variety of situations. You may take comments, innocent comments, as uh, personal insults to you. You are hyper vigilant to what people say. You're hyper vigilant to how they view you. You are extremely self-conscious. All of these are signs of being insecure, and it's the insecurity within yourself. Because if you're insecure with yourself, then your actions may betray that. Think about people you admire, that you may even respect. How do they act? Typically, they act in a very confident fashion. They act as though they own everything. They act as though they know what they're doing. They never let on that, you know, yeah, they've been doing this all the time, but every time they do it, they are still anxious. So it would be good to hear from you about what you might consider as disturbing dreams. We do interpret dreams through our Facebook page. But the interesting thing is what types of threats may trigger a nightmare. Now, a lot of people they don't watch horror movies. I remember when Freddy Krueger came out, A Nightmare on Elm Street, the movie. It was I thought it was fantastic at the time. I was a teenager. A lot of people found it extremely disturbing because it involved dreams. In fact, the opening scene was a ceiling where it appeared as though someone were moving, trying to move through it. You could see the plaster stretching and everything as the person was just reaching to pierce it. And this disturbed a lot of people. It gave people nightmares because of and I'm not sure what about it was actually frightening, except for the fact that all of this took place during dreams. And most of the time, dreams are considered innocent fantasies. And in this particular instance, that fantasy was destroyed. I can't think of very many horror movies that prey on dreams, the inner reality. I can't think of any except for A Nightmare on Elm Street. And it was so popular that they made 5 or 6 of them. But initially, it was disturbing to some. The imagery, I don't know. It could have been the theme, which was child molestation. That in and of itself is nightmarish. In one of the scenes, you've got a very innocent child on a tricycle. So it's the innocence that is exploited that may create disturbing dreams. But think about what kind of threats might trigger a nightmare. Now, I'm not well, the one I described to you about the babysitter and the daughter. While I did not experience anything like that during the day or even the days leading up to it. But what I did experience was a question about my character. And I've gone through a lot to build my character, to shape it in a fashion that people don't find intimidating. For some reason, I seem to intimidate people in my mannerisms, in my speech, the way I express myself. I just take it as being confident, and it troubles those people who are not as competent or not as confident in their actions. And that would intimidate people. I remember when I was intimidated by authority figures, as a child, the principal, oh, very intimidated. Ooh, And that carried on into my adult life. Supervisors, police officers, well, despite the stuff that's going on now within society regarding police officers, but it was the idea of authority, standing up to them, facing them, meeting them, dealing with them, all of that, it created a sense of anxiety within me. And that may be what triggered that particular dream. The one with the meat lockers, I couldn't tell you. That was over a decade ago. So bad dreams tend to be triggered by experiences of depression and anxiety. And the interesting thing about that is that depression and anxiety are two sides of the same coin. So much so that they use the same medication to treat the condition. So other things that nightmares can represent, interpersonal conflict, which which would make sense in some instances. Nightmares are disturbing dreams, like conflicts that we would experience, interpersonal conflicts that we would experience. I described one to you, the confrontation of with authority, the intimidation there. I don't fear would be one way of putting it, but it just wouldn't fit. But intimidation, feeling intimidated would, and that would build your anxiety. Threats, threats that may appear to be innocent. Your significant other threatens to leave because they suspect you of cheating, and you have no clues to what they're referring to. That can create anxiety. That can create a disturbing dream. That can cause you to have a dream where loved ones just turn their back on you. That would be a nightmare. It could qualify. So could nightmares be representations of failure? It's possible. Keep in mind, it's the anxiety that creates the nightmare, that creates the disturbing dream. If you're fearful of failing, and again, this comes back to threats to your security, your self-esteem, your image, all of this, everything in spirituality comes back to you. So it's always going to come back to you. So if failures can initiate bad dreams or nightmares, particularly if you are sensitive to them. Could nightmares be representations of helplessness or apprehension? Well, apprehension. That's a good one. The first dream I described, no, the second dream I described to you with, again, with the mother and the home and everything. It's apprehension about how I am perceived, or again, it's a threat to my security, my self-image, my self-esteem. And helplessness, well, of course. Helplessness, feeling helpless, is a very, very anxious sensation. It really gets the anxiety going. Anything that's tied into to anxiety may trigger a nightmare. So, could these experiences be related to survival? Absolutely. It's security. Security is all about your ability to survive. You have, not only do you have the outer reality to be concerned about, you've got the inner reality to be concerned about as well. You have to function properly. You have to feel good about yourself. You have to feel competent. You have to feel confident. You have to feel important. You have to, well, you have to feel as though you are wanted, as though you belong. So, yes, it's all tied to survival. Could these nightmares uh, be suggesting an inability to adapt? Absolutely. Absolutely. The dream with the babysitter. My listening to her. In fact, I even tried to read something just to determine if it was a dream, because the realities are so closely matched. Everything in the brain that is functioning in in when you're awake, with the exception of your cognitive abilities, is still functioning, particularly your emotions. So to determine if you're in a dream, try reading something. Because if you're reading something, then the chances of you being able to make out the words are very slim. So that was one of the things that I did. That's why I knew it was a dream. And I thought about how I was acting in that dream. And as the dream moved towards closing, that comment there with the daughter being very attached to me and my being uncomfortable with it, it was demonstrating, a rigidity within me, because I was inflexible about that. The I'm not sure what the proper response would have been, but upon awakening, as I said, the proper response upon awakening would have been to ask what motivated that response. And what motivated that response to that dream was that I had put all this effort into building this sense of trust, and it was questioned, it was threatened. Whereas a better response within the dream would have been, more than would more than just yes. If it disturbs me, could have been more along the lines of yes. Could you speak to her about it? In other words, I could have turned it around towards the mother, but I didn't. And the mother, again, here we go with this authority figures with me. The mother represents an authority figure. So I was intimidated by that, not as intimidated as I would have been earlier in life, but I was still intimidated by that. And that, again, that was the nightmare. So yes, these dreams, these nightmares, these disturbing dreams are filled with information if we can take the time to dismantle it. So fortunately, and again, this explains a lot as well. As we mature, the bad dreams we experience tend to drop off. We still have them, mind you, but they tend to fall off. They're not as common because they are no longer representations of survival skills or representations of needed survival skills. they become signs of a lack of restful sleep. And that's as we get older. Well, I don't want to say get older, but as we mature in life, as we become more experienced, we're better equipped to handle anxiety, to handle those encounters with people of authority. I hope you found this helpful. If you have, please donate to us. You can make donations at our website. Our website is brdsky.com, birdinsky.com. That is the home of the website for the Spiritualist Circle of Light. You'll find links to PayPal on the landing page. You'll also find other information about Spiritualist Circle of Light as to what we are doing, our streaming services. We typically have a service on Saturday evenings at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. There is healing and spirit messages or intuitive messages, evidentiary messages, however you choose to phrase that, or whatever the going line is, a description. I am a medium, and that's what the messages are. They are messages from those who have made their transition to life's other rooms. And we also have a lesson as well, a conversation. So, like I said, if you found any of this beneficial, please leave some seeds. Please make a donation. All the information is at the website. We also have guided meditations. Check them out. They are on our on the Bird in Sky YouTube channel. They are also available at the Spiritualist Circle of Light Facebook page as well. So, thank you for joining us, and thank you for allowing me to share. Bless to you.